Kia ora anō and welcome back to Media 7. We're discussing Māori in the media with TVNZ's Paola Maxwell, Māori Television's Sonia Haggie and radio consultant Manu Taylor. We sent out Simon Pound to discover how much in Māori Language Week Te Reo has touched the mainstream and who exactly is Cool Te Korero.
What are you doing for Māori Language Week?
Nothing much, other than saying kia ora a lot.
I'm learning a few new phrases.
New words.
Oh, nothing much.
Ka rawe te korero Māori.
I could probably do Po Kare Kare Ana, but I couldn't do the national anthem.
Po kare kare ana, na waia waia pu. Just simple words. Morena, gonna pull off to the wharipaku,
Kai.
Kia ora.
Ke te weka koe.
Our children do.
They do, yeah. But no, not me, no.
Tahirua.
Toruwha.
Rima ono.
Whetu waira.
You, to go?
It's very difficult at our age to learn another language.
E hoa atua.
Ka rawe te korero Māori.
Do you think there's more Maori in common usage today?
Well, I've just come back to New Zealand after about 10 years, so I've seen quite a bit more than what I used to see.
Māori has actually increased with the Te Reo schools, but I don't know about the Europeans speaking more Māori.
The public services that have everything in bilingual now.
The Māori TV television station, that's great, it's fabulous.
I think it's good, no, definitely, yeah. We all have to live together, yeah, great.
We have, people that are Māori in our community, and we communicate perfectly okay with them.
Ka rawe te korero Māori.
Ka kite.
Goodbye.
Simon Pound with that report. Sonia, that was actually just around the corner from your office. Were you encouraged by what you heard there?
No, not particularly.
No.
I'd like to think that as New Zealanders we're making more of an effort to support the language. The language, it's in need of a lot of support, a lot of promotion, and people actually starting to speak it. So no, I wasn't particularly pleased about that, no.
And you feel, obviously, that Māori television has a major role there?
Well, I think that we do. We're very visual and visible, and we're able to put the language into the living rooms and encourage people to speak because it needs to be spoken at home, particularly within the Māori families. So, we've got a big role to play. But we're not the only Māori language organisation that has a role to play. There are a number of others, like TVNZ, like Iwi Radio, like Ministry of Education initiatives, like Te Tautawhiti, the Māori Language Commission. We've all got a role to play.
Yeah, what's interesting, the reason I asked you is that I was reading Te Puni Kokori's material on this today, and I was quite surprised to find that the single greatest source of Māori language learning for Māori was broadcast. It wasn't school, it wasn't the home, it was broadcast, which suggests that there's quite a job to do there.
Yeah, it is. And the other thing is too that the audience is much more accepting in that partnership, particularly an audience that oftentimes doesn't participate at school or has issues. The fact that their friends and the people they aspire to be with are speaking Māori, as TV is doing now at a higher level, means that their involvement is a lot simpler and a lot easier and a lot more accepted. And it is an everybody thing, as you don't always need the whizzes to pick everything up. And broadcasting does that so easily and readily, and yet it's been something that has been difficult to get through.
For the first time in about 30 years, the last Māori language survey was in 2006, and for the first time in 30 or 40 years, there's been an increase in the number of Māori adults speaking Māori, speaking it, reading it, understanding it. And not only that, there's been an increase in intergenerational transmission of reo and language as well. So some very positive signs, and I don't think broadcasting is the panacea to it, but I think it's a very important component.
Manu, I wonder, just before we move on to some other issues, you clearly did a good job with Mai in actually getting the language out there. Did you also receive criticism for bringing in what people regarded as American culture? Because you were a hip-hop R&B station.
Well, yes, you do, and we would, but we wouldn't have necessarily attracted the audience to work with if we didn't. The thing was always the balance. It was always presented by young Maori people or Pacific Island people, as whoever was there, but the young people presented the music. They also were part and parcel of the choosing of what was going on. I was very, very particular with what was selected to play. The lyric was really important to me. The attitude was really important to me. Everything was. And the whole mix was critical. It wasn't what was necessarily hot in the R&B charts. We never played Ice-T. We never played many things. NWA never was played. And other radio stations were playing that sort of music at the time, and we didn't. It was very, very particular. The key is the audience does not see it necessarily as anything separate to their lives. So it just has to be handled properly and also presented by them themselves. And that was, we took a lot of care in that. In saying that, we also got overtaken by media really quickly, more recently. And the mention of Shortland Street is a classic example. When Quentin Hita went and started helping with Shortland Street, was on Shortland Street for a while, and Stacey, the Maori quoting went up, and they started to overrun our ability to broadcast at our comfortable level because they had short segments in order to do it. MTS did the same thing. And you've got to accept that we, as a bigger media, had difficulty keeping up with the pace when you have short, sharp jabs of other media, and it's a job to keep up with that and keep pushing forward.
Of course, Māori broadcasting is about more than the language. It's about reporting from a different perspective. One thing I've spoken to Māori journalists about in the past is the difficulty of dealing with authority in that Māori world and actually asking the hard questions of people of a different generation. I get the impression that started to change with Te Kaya and Te Karere. I haven't seen, say, Peter Sharples asked such hard questions in the mainstream media as he gets on those programs.
Well, only last week Peter was in the hot seat on Marae when he was being questioned about Derek Fox and the concerns around his history. I look at programs like Marae, particularly also Eye to Eye. I think that's a really important development that that we've made.
There's some conflict.
Where there's some conflict, and Māori aren't afraid of airing the issues. I think for so long, and it was probably in a time before Māori television, we were kind of felt like we were in a bastion because all we had was what was on TVNZ and iwi radio. But now we have Māori television, we have a growing slate of programs at TVNZ, we have a very healthy radio sector. So I think people are just more confident. So you're willing to talk about all the issues as opposed to shove some of them under the carpet.
For instance, one thing that I keep wishing any media organisation would explain to me is, I was going to say your iwi affiliations, and then I thought, well, I don't know what they mean. I don't know what the context is. And I really feel that that's something I'd like explained to me. I know that if someone from Ngāti Awa says something, they're saying it in the Ngāti Awa context, but I don't know what that context is. Can we get there with that?
We're being interviewed in different roles. I work as the General Manager at TVNZ of Māori programs, and Sonia is in charge of publicity and at MTS, etc. So we're not necessarily being interviewed as tribes people. I'm from Te Arawa, very proud of it, and I'll probably die there. But in this context, I'm talking to you as the General Manager of Māori programs.
Well, we're going to wrap this up after the break, and you may have been wondering where our regular Newsmash feature is. Don't fret, it is coming after the break, and it's fruity.